Okay, today we're starting out in front of the picture tube that we normally do at the end because I want to show you the fault or the symptom of this particular K7000 before we get working on it. And I'm about 99.78245% sure it's got the wrong vertical IC. This was sent to me because, let's review real quick. Well, we'll review later. Let me show you what's happening here. I think it's got the wrong vertical IC. If I turn this on, you can see that it works and has full deflection. However, it's not quite right. You can see how it's well, let me skip past this here. If I go into the menu here, I can diagnostic tests, monitor patterns, crosshatch. Okay, so you can see that we have a little bit of squiggliness and haywireness going down on here. And if I actually increase the vertical size, it kind of jumps. If you watch here, I'll go slowly, and then it kind of squishes on itself up here with the red, and then all of a sudden, boop, it goes back to full, and it does the same thing there. It kind of squishes, and then bloop, and then down here, the jitteriness gets a little worse. Now, the longer I leave this on, that vertical IC heatsink gets super, right now it's super hot. Watch, it'll, see how this is going crazy now, this line here? And then if we leave it on for a little bit longer, it eventually just start to collapse and then go crazy on itself. But right now, if I touch this vertical IC heatsink, oh man, it's super hot. I don't really want to leave it on too long, but the longer you leave it on, it starts to go compress and then fold over and just start going crazy. So what you see here ends up happening over the entire screen. But as you can see, it's not the jitteriness is not up top, it's only down here at the bottom, and this is going haywire. But yeah, I'll give you a little preview here. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. What's happening right now is the vertical IC is getting very hot, and it's starting to go haywire. So I'm going to turn this off, and yeah, I'll give you a little preview here. If I can get this off of here, there we go. So this is the heatsink, and I think that's the wrong vertical IC. It had the wrong vertical IC in it originally, according to the paper I got, and then the person who has this, or sent it to me, they put this one in there, thinking that it's the right one based off of the hole in the heatsink there for the attachment point. But as you can see, there is multiple options here. There's one with the two on the top. So there's the two on the top, the one in the middle, the two on the outside. So there's three different versions of a vertical IC that can go in here. I think they just picked two. There's three options. I think the first one was wrong, second one was wrong. I'm gonna put the correct one in, the third option. So I think that's really all that's wrong with this, but it has been recapped and cleaned and reflowed and all that. But let me take this off, we'll take a closer look, and then we'll see what we can figure out. All right, so here we have it on the bench, and in full disclosure, a number of, let's see, how do I phrase it? A good amount of time has passed because I actually filmed a lot of footage and decided to just go ahead and cut it out because I was going down the wrong rabbit hole. You saw what was happening with this and what the problem was, and I assumed it was the wrong vertical IC because this heatsink can support three different part numbers of ICs. The LA7831, the LA7833, and the AN5521. So I don't know what was in here before, but it might have had it definitely had the wrong one according to the owner of this, the person that sent it to me. Now he put in what he thought was the right one, the LA7833, that's what's in here. Well, I thought maybe it's supposed to have the LA7831. So I put that in here, and it actually made the image much worse. And I thought, okay, so that's not the right vertical IC. So I thought, okay, let's try the AN5521. So I put an AN5521 on here, and again, it made it much worse. I put the LA7833 back in here, and we had a much better image, but it still had the oscillation at the bottom, and over time this would heat up and it would start collapsing, folding over, and all that. So we're back to the same problem. So I thought, okay, the LA7833 definitely is the right one that needs to go in here, but what's causing the problem? Well, when we actually get this thing powered up here, which I'll show you, I'll grab the light bulb. So if you have the option to power this up on the test bench, I'll show you what to do. So you want to connect a 60-watt incandescent light bulb, which is an analog to the CRT load on the power supply. Connect one leg to the blue wire of your B+ resistor, which is the regulated output. Other side just goes to ground. You take your anode cup and put it in a glass jar of some kind, mason jar, whatever. because this will fire up and the flyback will output a minimal amount of high voltage because our horizontal winding on the yoke is not connected, so it doesn't put out the full high voltage, but a minimum amount. So be careful when you do this. Do this at your own risk. Caveat, asterisk, caution, do this at your own risk. Keep this up out of the way. Just don't put your fingers in the hole. You should be okay. And you can actually turn this on the bench. And I'm going to do that here right now. 1, 2, 3. There you go. So I do hear a little bit of crackling inside so there's a very minimal amount of high voltage because there is high voltage present, but it's very minimal. Just don't stick your fingers in there. You'll be okay. So now we have this running on the bench in full operation, just minus the full high voltage. So our vertical deflection circuit is actually operational at the moment, and we're looking for 2 inputs for 26 volt reference. So if we look at our LA7833 pinout here, you can see that our power supply is on pin 6. That's the input from our flyback, and then the vertical input pin. So input pin is 26 volts, and 6 is, so it should be 26 volts on pin, I believe, 4 and 6. So if we just go to ground here, like so, and we go to volts DC on our meter, and we go to pin, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7's on the right. I go to pin 6. You can see here I got 25.5 volts. If I go to pin 4, okay, so that's not, I think it's pin 2 maybe. Okay, that's our output, 16 volts. Which one of these? There's 2 sources for 26 volts. There's pin 6, 5, 4, 3. There it is. Okay, pin 3, 25. So pin 3 and pin 6, vertical output power supply. Okay, so we have our main input power supply and our vertical output power supply. So those 26 volts, so that's good. This blue wire here is our 26 volt reference from our flyback, and it's providing 26 volts to the input pin for power, and our output's 26. That's correct. Now, what our problem was, I'm gonna turn this off. So that's how to test that. If you ever have no deflection, complete collapse, you can just test for 26 volts at pin 6 and pin 3. That's how you do that. But the whole purpose of this part of the video here is to talk about this cap right here, C52. I'm gonna put all this stuff out of the way. C52. If we look at C52, you can see here that it has multiple options for, well, not multiple, it has two options for how this is going to be connected. And I have already fixed this problem. So C52 here, as you can see, it can either be connected to ground, pin 1 is ground, it can either be connected to pin 1 and pin 2, or pin 1 and pin 4. If we look at the pinout here, pin 2 is our vertical output pin, and pin 4 is our input pin. It needs to be across pin 1 and pin 4. It has to filter the input signal. And it wasn't doing that. Somebody had this installed in pin 1 and pin 2. So I desoldered it from pin 2 and installed it in pin 4, and that fixed the problem. So I don't know if whoever changed this out originally was troubleshooting a collapse problem and put the wrong one in here, and they moved this over to here, or they took this completely out and didn't know which one it was in and took a gamble and put it in. I don't know what the scenario was, but they had this cap across pin 1 and pin 2, and that was causing the problem because instead of filtering the input, it was filtering ground and the vertical output pin. So it was causing a conflict on the vertical output circuit and not allowing the driver to work properly. And by moving it off of pin 1 and 2 to pin 1 and pin 4 to filter the input, which is what it was designed to do for this part number of vertical IC, that fixed our problem. And I'll show you that, and hook it back up, show you that it's fixed here shortly. But the fix for this problem was moving this over from 2 to 4. So depending on the part number, they do this because different vertical ICs have different pinouts and different functions. And because this one can support 3 different versions, somebody must have not moved this over or moved it over by accident, or I don't know the scenario, but it needed to be in pin 1 and pin 4. So I'll show you how it's working here shortly. But as you can see here again, these 2 holes on the outside are for LA7831. The hole in the middle here is for LA7833, and these 2 holes here are to support the AN5521. And depending on which vertical IC you use, you have to reconfigure this C52, and someone had it in the wrong configuration. So I moved it to pin 1 and 4, solved the problem, and we're good to go. So that's all that was wrong with this, was somebody had installed that in the wrong pin, and that was it. So I'm going to get this back up on a tube, and and I'll show you it working the way it's supposed to, and that'll wrap up this quick short video. So let me get that done. All right, so I have it on the tube. It's actually turned on right now and running. I've got all the pots adjusted, and I've made all the adjustments for the screen size, position, shape, and all that. So it's running. You can see here that we have the cap in pin 1 and pin 4. I don't know if you can see pin 1 and pin 4. And with the cap moved from pin 2 to pin 4, it's working with no problem. Good focus on the screen. There we go. It's a bit too blue, but otherwise, yep. I wish I could get the, I wonder if it's the overhead light. I'll turn the light off. Maybe it'll sync with the light off. Not really. But yeah, that was our problem. Hey, there we go, finally. Yep, looks great. Fantastic. So that was it, just that polycap and the wrong pin. So if you ever have that problem, you can reference this video. You know what it looks like. If you know what the problem is and it mirrors or copies what the problem is you see in this video that you got, you know to try that pin, that cap in the other pin, so other hole. Yep. All right. Well, that's about it. Hopefully it helps you out in the future. Somebody, maybe tomorrow, maybe 5 years, who knows? You know what to do if you have that same problem you saw in the first part of the video. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, comment, whatever you think, and we'll see you on the next repair.